Okay, overnight my wonderful running 5.7 Chevrolet engine started not running right, shaking a lot. I can put my hands over the choke a little bit and it smooths out. There it is. As soon as I let go of that and the gas stops going in there, it starts kicking up a fuss. I'm not a big fan of Rodchester carburetors, but I'm pretty sure that's what's wrong. I've had this out already, and I've had it, I went through it and adjusted the float and put a new needle and seat in it and gaskets. And it ran fine. I think there might be a piece of crap in the idle circuit. I'm debating on whether or not to get rid of this. And I'll tell you why I'm debating. Because of this, and this, that, and that, and these, and that, and those, and yeah. Oh, and that, and that. What General Motors did here is they're trying to make this have as least amount of emissions as they can with a carbureted engine, so there's a lot of vacuum devices on this that they work, but there's a lot of, if you don't have everything right, they don't work. I've got a couple of problems already with mine. As I was checking hoses, I pulled this one out. I think you can see that. And I'll have to get another one of these also because I pulled this out. But if I just put a Edelbrock carburetor on this and remove all that vacuum foolishness, I won't have to mess with it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart first and see if I can't find the blockage. I'm pretty certain that it has a blockage in the primary circuit, in the idle circuit. So, okay, let's take it off. It's a good idea to take pictures of all this stuff before you do it, so you know where everything goes. A lot of crap on this one, there is. Okay. Sometimes you can have a vacuum leak or a leak in the base, and what that does is it draws more air and it doesn't draw fuel. I checked over my vacuum hoses and my base gasket's new, and I don't think I had any problems there. Everything looked okay. So let's take this in and we'll take it into the garage. We'll take the top off it and we'll look in this primary circuit and see if we can't find some crap in it. I dumped all the gas out of it. It didn't seem to have a lot of gas in it for some reason. Didn't have the normal 6 gallons of gasoline in it. So I'm going to check Captain Obvious first. It's a 1 inch, you know. This fuel filter. And we'll see how much crap is in here. do this on a white piece of paper, you can catch all the futs coming out, and there really isn't a lot. It looks pretty clean. However, I can't blow through it. Can't blow through that. Captain Obvious might have found something. I can't even blow through it. Okay, let's have a look here inside it. The little white valve in there was kind of sticking out some, and I couldn't even blow through it. So I kind of pushed this in a little bit, and it seems to work better now. I don't know what the hell a fuel filter would need a valve like that for. I think I'm going to put this together without that. See what happens. Still going to open up this though. I don't like that. That's goofy as hell. That looks like something that's going to fail. Okay, you can get lost in all the controls here. So what I did is I pulled the pin out of the accelerator pump cam. You can get up behind it and push it out, and then pull it out, and you can get it off the accelerator pump. Then I took this vacuum dash pot off the top here, and then this screw out of this back dash pot. And what that should allow me to do is take these screws out here, and there's a couple on the inside, and right there and there, and I should be able to lift this top up off. I will have to kind of tilt it slightly in order to get this off, so this will be our focal point when we go to put it back together. This is going to have to be on there first before we can put it down there. This carburetor has metering rods, so they will come out. You have to be very careful with those metering rods not to bend them. So let's take a look at this. Okay, when you take the top off, your accelerator pump will push up on your gasket, so you have to make note that this gasket goes on top of the accelerator pump. Here's a pair of metering rods that will need to come out. They just lift out, kind of. And underneath this will be the float bowl. So we'll have a look at that there. Okay, the words delicate and finesse are paramount here. So you have to be very careful. Let me see here. Here's your metering rods. And you notice they kind of spread out. They don't lay down. Well, they're supposed to lay down, but how they're set in this gasket, they kind of spread themselves out. So you have to be careful, very careful, that they go back down in the holes. Magnetic. There's the hole. They go back down into that one and that hole. And then there's a spring in the center that this little gizmo fits into. That's on the bottom of that. I don't quite know what it is. But I'm looking down in here, and as you can see, right down in the corner of the float chamber, there is some crap, loose pieces. But what I'm going to be looking for, I'm going to take this piece of plastic out in the float and I'm going to be looking for some crap in those jets. I'll take those jets out too. You can remove them. So we'll get to that. Careful here though. Okay. I've outfoxed the labor union. Only a labor union would build a show dog like this with idle circuit screws with that kind of head. So what I did is I took a T and I got it hot and shoved it on there, and I was able to count the amount of turns that came out. Likewise with this little gizmo in the center, I took a vacuum Y and heated it up, pushed it on there, and it has the same kind of head on it as this, only smaller, because not only do we need these kind of heads, we need several different sizes. Only a labor union would do that. Okay, I took this side out. I'm going to work one side at a time. I'm going to blow it out with compressed air and carb cleaner and put it back in. 12.5 turns on this one, because that's what I counted. 12.5 turns. It ran perfect, so there's no reason why 12.5 turns back in there shouldn't be right. It didn't run perfect. It was, you know, sometimes it'd run good, sometimes it'd run bad. Maybe there's some crap in there, so I'm going to blow that out too. Going to do the other side too. One at a time though. Okay, things I found. I did find some crud in there. One of my main jets had a fuzz in it, piece of fuzz in it. That could be it. Can't think of anything else. You know, the best thing you can do is you can take it apart and look at it and see it. You know, see if you can find the Captain Obvious. But you know, here's the deal. This is a Rodchester carburetor, and I swear to you on my mother's grave, these are just terrible carburetors. They've always given me fits. However, they work famously if everything is perfect. That means all the vacuum hoses and that kind of stuff are hooked up. So, you know, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to put this thing back together. So, same way you took it apart. The deal in the center there, this deal right here, I didn't tighten it all the way up. I put it in there 8 turns, because I think that's what came out, 8 turns. It wasn't tight, that's for sure. About 9.5 tightens it up. So, something rides on that. I don't know what. I'm not quite sure how this carburetor works. It's a mystery. Well, yeah, I do know how it works. The metering rods fit down into the jets, and as you pull them up by the linkage, it feeds more gas in it, of course. Anyways, okay, well, we'll shut this off and I'll start assembling. Okay, because of how fidgety this is, I did not get this rod hooked up. I did get this rod through, which was good. I did get our accelerator pump through, but the most fidgety part was the 2 metering rods that went down in the center. They kept coming out of the jets, and I had to hold them while at the same time get everything lined up. There's 3 some sort of jet-like things or whatever that go down through there, some kind of breathers or something. But I ended up taking these metering rods out. These metering rods fit right here, and I'm going to put them in later. They're held in by a little screw with a little Torx head that goes right there. But if you take those out, then you're not fidgeting around with trying to get those in the holes as well. Those are your secondary metering rods, and those when you open up the back 2 barrels, that's the secondary part of the carburetor. In fact, it doesn't even have jets. It just has holes drilled in the carburetor. It uses so much gas. Anyways, I put these 2 screws in there, 1 and 2, just to hold the top on. Nothing was forced, so everything is closed up, and I think we're okay. Now I have to work on getting this. This is the most important thing right now, is getting this linkage on there. So I'm going to take this off, bolt this screw right here, and see if I can fidget it around to get the linkage into that. Once I get that in there, then I can put the rest of my screws in. Probably what I'll do is put my metering rods in next though, and then I can put all my screws in. When I laid my screws out, I laid them in a clockwise fashion, which ones fit where. They're all the same except the two back ones, which are here and here, are longer. So let me get this put together and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm going to finish by pressing my pin back into my accelerator pump. I have my choke back on there right, the vacuum on there right. I have all my screws tightened up, including the ones inside. I have my metering rods back on. I've taken this out, this little stop. I think what it is, it's an anti-backup device, so it doesn't, the gas doesn't come back out. My fuel filter is clean, and you can blow through it now because of that little device. That might have just been the problem. Put that in there. Does it have a gasket? Yeah, oh yeah, there's a little plastic gasket at the end. Okay. Gotcha. We'll tighten that up. We're making sure the body is correct, the linkage is correct before we go and lay that all on there. It opens and closes as far as the linkage doesn't bind and whatnot. You got everything put together. When you operate the linkage, you want to make sure your accelerator pump pumps. I think we're good, and we'll give her a shot and see what happens. Okay, back to the bus. Okay, I put it all together. There's a couple of fudges I did because I didn't have a hose that was quite big enough or quite small enough, and it wasn't loose, it just didn't fit on there real tight, so I put a little bit of sealant on it. That's ultra copper. And I also put a little ultra copper on the top and the bottom of the base gasket, just a very small little bit. I've hooked up all my lines. I still need to fix this because it's broken, came off, and the throttle, it kind of springs out and then lets itself down so it doesn't just dump the throttle off all at once. And it connects to there. Probably I'll just glue it back on there with some, that's what I had it on there with before. And I pulled on it and it pulled it off. I got all my vacuum lines back on. I did shoot a little gas down the float bowl. This is the whole hole right here. I just put some gas in there, so we'll hit it a couple of times. Let's see if she don't. We'll let that warm up a little bit and come back to it. Okay, well, whatever I did to it cured its problem. Cleaning it out. You can see the engine isn't doing this anymore. Pretty steady now. I think that's cured it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the fuel filter. Maybe it was the hair that was in the one of the jets. Maybe it was the crap in the float bowl. Maybe the base gasket, because I used new gaskets on it, but I didn't think about it. I didn't use a new base gasket. Maybe because I sealed the base gasket, now it's not leaking. Could be a lot of things like that. Oh, look at that. It's a gnaw mark on one of the spark plug wires. I'll have to, I know what you're thinking, buy another spark plug wire. No, I'll have to clean it and put some silicone on it. Okay, well, I don't know what to say. I guess the annual, take the Rodchester carburetor out and apart. I don't know. It stopped it though. And I was going to say, it's a huge shame to have to put an Edelbrock carburetor on here. Although an Edelbrock carburetor would be better, all the engineering you have to do for the throttle, the vacuum lines, to make sure your cruise control works, fuel line, your air cleaner, it just goes on and on. You know, this has been designed for this car, so I really want to try to make the Quadrajet work on it. The Rodchester carb. Okay. Well, that's, I'm going to button this up and I'm going to call this good. So, your guess was as good as mine on what actually was the culprit. I knew it was the carburetor though, because I could put my hand over the choke, and what that does is that allows more gasoline into the engine, and if more gasoline enters the engine and it smooths out, then it's lean. And the only way it gets lean is if maybe a jet gets plugged up, or the air jets get, you know, the idle jets, those two in the front that I took out that were in there 12 turns. It could get some crap in them or something. I didn't monkey with them or adjust them because it's a huge pain in the ass just to get to them, and then of course you have to have a special socket to do it, which I showed you how to make your own. But okay, there you go, folks. General Motors Rodchester Quadrajet repaired. Have a nice day. Well, I got done with the fixing the carburetor on the motorhome. I want to get that, and I want to get that back in the garage. In order to do that, I have to move things around a little bit. I got to put that snowmobile and the snowblower back in here, and the Sea-Doo conveyance is giving me fits, and it started last year, and this is what it's doing. Lean. Same thing that's going on with the motorhome. The idle circuit, something's wrong with the idle circuit on it. You have to run it on choke. Didn't have a fuel filter on it at one time. I think that's probably what did it in. I bought a brand new carburetor for this a few years back, along with come with a fuel pump. So let's get into it. We'll have to take it off, and it's probably full of muck. The idle circuit's probably blocked. You have to take all this nonsense off to get to the carburetor. This bottom plate's held on by these 3 screws. And then there's a crankcase ventilation. This doesn't look like a new carburetor, but it is. It was brand new when I bought it. I think what I'm going to do, because it's a royal pain in the butt taking this off because of these nuts, I think I'm going to take the top of it off. It has 4 screws to hold them in place, and I'm going to take the float chamber out, or it'll expose the float chamber, and I think it will. Yeah, it will. And I'm going to take that drain out right there too, and we'll have a look at what we got. Yeah, looks like there's quite a bit of crap in there. I have to figure out which is the idle circuit. Clean it out. There's a jet there. Probably the main jet. That might be that little hole right there drilled. Might be your idle jet. I don't know. I don't know how that thing works. We'll clean it out though. Okay, I think the jet is pressed in there. So I'm going to take some of this cleaner and I'm going to shoot that out. You can see I'm getting... I've got the whole unit kind of tilted up on the end and it blocked up. And I'm just going to kind of clean this all out best I can. Seems to be coming out of there pretty good. Let's see this here. Let's see if we can get that in there. Okay, but you get the idea. I'm going to clean this all out like that and blow it out and then put it back together. There's a screw right here in the front too, an air screw. We're going to give that an adjustment because I never adjusted that. We'll see if we don't get a little bit better running out of it. Get it to idle anyways. I put a little gas in the float bowl before I put the top section on. That way the engine's not cranking a lot. Alright, let's give her a shot. Let's give her a little choke. A little bit. Neutral. Take the choke away. Clean them. Happened there. Didn't like it. Got lean all of a sudden. Try to see what happens here. Give it a little more choke. A little more choke. I'm going to call that good because the choke's not on and it's running. So there you go. I think I'll bend this out a little bit too. It's like I run into something. Okay, put it back together.